about living organisms? Well, you might tell me it is reproduction, sensing environment, cellular composition, growth, breathing, etc. But now my question to you is, are these the features that can differentiate the living from the non-living exclusively? Well, let's find that out in today's session. So yes friends, in this particular session, we will be talking about attributes of living organisms. Now, before beginning the session, let's take a quick look of all that we are going to study. So we will be talking about growth, reproduction, metabolism and cellular organization, response to stimuli and cellular interactions. So first, let's begin by knowing about growth. So what is growth? Well, growth is increase in mass or the number of cells and or the individuals, right? So whenever the mass or number of cells or the individuals increase, we call it growth. Now, the cell division leads to growth. So you know that living organisms are composed of cells. When these cells divide, they lead to growth of an individual. Also, if we talk of the in vitro cultures, the cell division can be seen in such in vitro cultures too. Now, one thing that we need to note is that in multicellular organisms such as humans and the other mammals or the insects or any other animals per se, the reproduction and growth, these two are completely different events. However, if we talk of the unicellular organisms like bacteria, amoeba, etc., these are actually inclusive events. That means the cell division leads to reproduction as well as it leads to growth. That means due to cell division, new individuals are formed and that is considered as growth as well as reproduction in unicellular organisms. Now, the material accumulation can also cause growth in non-living organisms. For example, if we talk about mountains, what happens in mountains? We have often heard that mountains grow in height. So what is exactly happening? Well, what happens is there is accumulation of material on the mountain because of which the height of mountain grows. So we cannot say that growth is an exclusive characteristic of living organisms. And also one thing that we need to note is that growth does not occur in dead organisms. Well, let's come to reproduction now. So what is reproduction? Yes, reproduction is producing new individuals of the same kind. That means humans will produce humans, dogs will produce dogs, bacteria will produce bacteria, so on and so forth. Now there are two types of reproduction as you are all aware. It's asexual reproduction or sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, only one parent is required which gives birth to new individuals of its kind, whereas sexual reproduction requires two parents which give the gametes, that is the male gamete and the female gamete, which fuse to form the zygote and that ultimately results in the new individual. Now, as I already mentioned earlier, in unicellular organisms, growth and reproduction are equivalent events or they are similar things. Also in some multicellular organisms, the organisms may be sterile. For example, if we talk of mule, worker bees, infertile human, etc., these cannot reproduce and hence we cannot call reproduction as an exclusive